Hi there, I'm Katy-Rose and welcome back to Map Your Potential. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to level up your personal growth and talk a little bit about why it feels so difficult or why change is so difficult to stick with. So I think I was 11 when I bought my first self-help book. It was called Neuro-Linguistic Programming for Dummies, and it really began a journey for me where I was looking for an identity. I wanted to understand why I was here. Realistically, I've always been a seeker of, I guess, personal truth, for lack of a better term. And for me, I felt that there was something wrong with me because I didn't know this. Everyone else seemed to be so confident and didn't seem to question who they were and what they did. And I, even at the age of 12, 13, was, in hindsight, perhaps a bit anxious, but just someone who was curious, who questioned things, who wanted to know why things happened, and wanted to really understand myself. Again, looking back, I can see that some of my motivation was actually the beginning of my mental health and well-being difficulties. So when I look back, I can see that the anxiety, the things that I thought, everyone else seems to have it sorted, why don't I? All the comparisons, the questions, the anxiety. A lot of it was actually me trying to fix what felt broken. I'm definitely not the first or won't be the last person who feels at that age that they don't fit in, they don't know who they are, that the world is not particularly stable for them. But my way of managing it was to buy self-help books, look into therapies, try to teach myself. I went on to do a psychology degree and then a neuroscience master's and then a cognitive behavioural therapy qualification. I'm an attuned Reiki practitioner. I pretty much tried everything. And what I have learnt over these 15 years or so of self-development and personal exploration, personal journey, is I think we need a mix of the two approaches. So without having that awareness of what we want to be different, how things are now, it's very difficult to change. One of the best ways I find to become aware of something is to journal around it, is to meditate, is to reflect back. So when I did, for the new year, I did some goal sheets about resolutions, what worked well from 2018, what lessons I learned, and actually thinking back to when I was sort of 11, 12, 13 and what I was doing and how I was feeling and what I learned then has really helped me to understand what was going on for me back then, just as much as thinking about last year has got me to understand where I am now and how the last year has shaped me. The second step after you have awareness is to identify the differences. So what is it you want to be different? So as an early teenager, I wanted to feel like I knew myself. I wasn't looking to fit in at that age. That wasn't where I was at that point. I wanted to feel like I was in control of my life and myself. So when I got emotional, I felt like I'd lost control of everything and didn't know myself. Again, another reason I turned to self-help books when, in hindsight, perhaps some therapy would have been helpful. So identifying what's currently working, what's not working, what things would be like if they were different, how you would feel if they were different, what behaviours you would do if they were different, can really help you to identify, to really define what it is that you want to be different. Because if we don't know what we want to be different, if we don't have something to measure our progress on, are we going in the right direction, we're not going to make it. So So as long as you can say enough of, yes, I want more of this, or no, this isn't quite right, I'm going to pause, then you're on the right track. And then the third step in terms of making changes is to understand the pull, the fire, the motivation, the energy, the why. So if you are someone who is trying to lose weight, why are you wanting to lose weight? Is it just, oh, I want to look, is it I want to look good? Is it I want to run that marathon? Is it I want to fit into that particular dress for that particular date? Is it that you have some health conditions going on, you know it would help? Is it that actually you've realised you don't even like half the foods that you're eating? Is it that you want, without having a strong motivation to change, because humans are creatures of habit, it's very difficult to make a change when we're not truly wanting it. So this is the point where you might find that you look for a reason, you look for a why, and you try to identify what is the reason for me changing this, why do I want that, and you struggle. And if you struggle to find a why at this point, I would question if you really want it. Is it something you feel you should want? Everyone else is going to the gym for their New Year's resolutions, so I should. I won't. I'm going to do a workout after this video, but I'm going to do it in my living room while no one's home with my free weights, because I'm not going near a gym. I know that everyone else is. It's not me. It's not what I do. So it's important if you're... So a lot of people will set a goal and then try to go for it, but without a reason to change, we will always fall back into our habits. Without a strong enough motivation, willpower, reason to make that change, to stop going through the motions, to remind our body, no, we're not doing that today, even though it's done it for 5, 6, 10, 20 years. That is not going to change overnight, and it is not going to be a sustainable change unless you have a strong sense of power and strength behind it. Now, we all have that capability, that strength, that power. We all have an inner power that I think we don't even really truly recognize a lot of the time, because as human beings, thinking about even history, all the things that human beings have overcome, we might call it resilience, we might call it capability, but actually if we are put in a difficult situation, the number of us who survive that situation, and again, not easy, not simple, not pleasant, but the number of us who actually can handle more than we think is most of us. I think we all underestimate what we're capable of. And that's another reason that I want to understand where I'm at and what I can do, and I want to help you do the same for yourself. So you've probably heard those 3 tips before in terms of making a change, up-leveling your kind of personal development, your self-growth, is around identifying what you want to be different, reflecting on what is and isn't working, having a big strong why, a big why, a strong motivation, a good reason to do so. The difficulty comes when we then only listen to half the picture. So, my opinion, thinking from my degrees and my personal experience and the woo side of things, is that we need to blend that intuitive, unknown, unexplainable nudges, that kind of inner fire, that deep pull, that we can't necessarily put into words, we can't articulate it, it doesn't fit nicely on a practical plan. It still counts, something's there that's going to have some power, some impact on what we do next and how we do it and how we feel doing it. So in terms of accessing that power, it's about reflecting on that side of things. So as much as we want to, or certainly I want to dive in, when I have a goal, I certainly want to dive in with the smart planning and what would be, what would be a sensible thing to start with, what's my next baby step, and if I want to get here, what are the steps I've got to take, and where am I on that ladder of things. I want to go through all the planning and all the boxes, filling in all the things, planning all the options, writing out all the obstacles, but actually the main thing where people seem to struggle is not with planning, is not with doing the first little bits, it's with that sense of power and strength and dedication beneath it. Changes that we make, goals that we have, habits that we have are just actions that we routinely take. They are consistent. They are durable. When something out of the ordinary happens, they survive. There is a foundation there that is too strong to move. And as much as we might want to come up with a why, we might have a couple of motivational reasons, we all have days where we feel drained, where we feel exhausted, where we are shattered, where the idea of even showing up feels difficult. And this is where accessing your personal power, as I call it, that fire within you, can just give you that little boost to get through the blip moments where you might have let habit overcome your new change. So when you next want to make a change, when you want to level up kind of your self-development, your personal growth, whatever it is that you are planning to do, it doesn't hurt to think about your own capability. So when you have those moments of, I don't know if I can do this, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, I'm shattered, I just don't feel like it, having some kind of resolve that actually I don't feel like it and I'm going to do it anyway. And for every person, that personal power is going to look different. We can build that sense of personal power through certain exercises. So things like journaling, where you reflect on times that you've managed to get through things even when you didn't feel like it or you didn't feel well. It might be actually just doing those baby steps over and over again, building a foundation of showing up. So even on my absolute worst days, I write one word of fiction. I may not write my 500-word quota, but I write one word of fiction. I can usually come up with one word of fiction on my worst days, because for me it's about that consistency, it's about showing up. And it's okay to write one word a day. That's better than none, which is what I was going to do if I told myself it's 500 or nothing. So really the secret to kind of leveling up any kind of self-growth, any kind of thing, is that consistency and reflecting and reviewing on how you're progressing. So we as humans thrive on a sense of progress. It's the same thing in writing. So for those who don't know, I'm also a writer, and what people are looking for when they read a fiction story is they want a sense of progress. Now the sense of progress may be backtracked a couple of times, but it's almost a sense of backwards progress. It's still that sense of movement. And the times that we tend to give up on our goals is when we feel stagnant, it's when we feel stuck, it's when we feel that we're not making movement. So the easier you can make any sense of progress, any sense of movement, the easier it will be for you to make a change, for you to shift something internally, for you to create a new habit that works for you. And another thing is that willpower is actually something that depends on some of the chemicals in our brain. I'm not going to go into all of the science behind it, but actually having a cold drink, having a drink of water, having a snack, having a nap, that can reset and refill and refuel that willpower sense. So if you are flagging, if you are shattered, if you are just not managing, sticking your head out the window, taking a deep breath, splashing water on your face, having a cup of tea, getting up and walking around for 2 or 3 minutes just around the room. I tend to do a quick tidy up. Go and sort of stretch your legs, go to the toilet and come back. Anything you can do that will just give you a 30-second gap from that, oh, I feel really stagnant, I feel really stuck, that actually can help to kickstart the body into making a little more of that willpower, in simplistic terms. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe down below so that you don't miss future videos. I will pop a link to a free download about 4 steps to break free of mental exhaustion. Please leave a comment and let me know what you do when you're feeling like you want to kind of level up your life but you're struggling. What kind of struggles do you come up with and how do you help overcome them? I'm sure everyone would love to hear your thoughts as well. I don't know everything, that's for sure. And I'll see you again in the next video.